Now, of course, everyone knows the number one issue facing London at the moment is spiralling violent crime. We've got to do something about it. And your budget does have some things in it which are going to give a little bit more money to the police. But one thing you said this morning, which I think is allocating money to the wrong place, as you said, you're going to put £50 million into a Green New Deal programme to tackle a non-existent climate emergency, whether that money would pay for up to 800 extra police officers. Why have you decided to put £50 million into some programme that doesn't seem to have much detail attached to it, that isn't going to do anything, when you could be putting it into increasing the numbers of our police to keep our streets safe?
Well, Chair, we've got climate change delayers and climate change deniers in this Assembly. And I'm quite clear. When you invest in the police, you've got to make sure the funding can continue going forward. So what you can't do is invest in the police with a one-off payment, because it's got to be recurring, because you can't make police officers redundant. And so one of the things that's happened since I became mayor is we've raised council tax to the maximum allowed, but also diverted business rates towards making sure we can help violence reduction initiatives. And so what I've done since I've been mayor is invested from council tax £460 million to additional police officers, because council tax is recurring and carries on year in, year out. And it's really important to have a sustainable funding system for police officers going forward. Where I've had funding which is one-off, I've used that money to invest in other violence reduction initiatives which can help. So, for example, the Young Londoners Fund is now £70 million. It's already diverted 110,000 young people towards doing constructive things, supporting more than 330 projects. And so I'll invest in things that are important, of course, like the Green New Deal, because we face an existential threat. We either accept that there's a climate emergency, or like you, we don't. I accept there is a climate emergency. I accept there is climate change, but I think we can do something about it. And my question to you is very simple. Are you going to be the first generation that does something about it, or the last generation that doesn't? I want to be the first generation that does something about it.
Well, Mr. Mayor, that's the difference between you and me, because carbon
dioxide...
There are
many differences. There are many differences,
indeed there are, Mr.
between
Mayor,
you and me.
That we would agree.
I couldn't sleep at night if I thought that was the only difference.
We do have many differences, Mr. Mayor, absolutely indeed. But carbon dioxide is not a demonic gas that is going to destroy all life on the planet. But we can leave our differences aside on that. But let's go back to the meat of the matter, which is to talk about business rates, as you were mentioning. Now, in your budget, you actually say that the amount of business rates which are going to fund the police is dropping this year. In fact, you get 1,096 million per year, well, for this coming financial year, in business rates, but you're only going to put 10% of that into the police, and nearly 90%, almost all of the rest, is going to go to TfL. Why have you reduced the amount of business rates going to the police this year when you could have kept it at the same level and funded more police officers?
Chair, the reason for the reduction in business rates, it relates to government proposals around business rate growth and when that will be received by local authorities. So at the moment, we receive business rate growth income along with the rest of our business rate income in the year in which it's paid by taxpayers to the billing authorities. The government is proposing that they change that, and so that growth is received 2 years later after the final figures are known. And the consequence of that would be that as the Mayor has chosen to divert business rates on a recurring basis to fund 1,000 additional police officers, there would be a 2-year gap when there was no funding for them. So in last year's budget, the Mayor took the decision to set aside £118 million to cover that 2-year gap to ensure that those police officers could be funded and could exist. And so that was very much a one-off thing that had to be done to fill that gap, and that's why the overall business rates figure falls, because there was that exceptional allocation given impending government changes.
Thank you. I think I'm out of time there, Chair, but as always, it's been a pleasure discussing these things with you, Mr. Mayor.